when you are going into this industry, it can feel like you're put in a certain box if you're from the north, if that makes sense, the kinds of roles. And when I was little, I would never have thought I could do anything like Shakespeare, for example, with my accent. I thought Shakespeare was for people that sounded very posh and sounded like they had lots of money and had an RP or a London accent, And in my career, I've worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company, for example. In Stratford, I was there, and they absolutely loved that I had a strong regional accent. And my colleagues on that also had strong accents from all different parts of the world. And I just think it's that, like you said, don't give up hope, and also stay true to who you are. Don't think that, if we sound as Northerners this certain way, that's a wonderful thing. That's, we're so unique to that. Our accents are brilliant. And with things like Shakespeare, I think it sometimes can sound, I'm biased, but I think sometimes a good line of Shakespeare in Northern sounds amazing.
Amos Madra.
Emma Swan, an absolute privilege to have you here today. A warm welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Emma, you've got a fantastic career as an actor. You've been in some great programs. You've got something exclusive that you're going to be sharing with us. In fact, I tell you what, let's get into it straight away. Can you share with us what we can expect from you very soon?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I'm going into the West End this summer with Horrible Histories at the Garrick Theatre. So I'm over the moon about that with Terrible Tudors. So we'll be there all summer from the end of July right up until the beginning of September. So do come and see us if you're around. Come and come and see us.
And as a huge Horrible Histories fan, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And it's great to have you here as well. So, Emma, you've got a great career as an actor. Tell us about, what you do and how you got into the whole acting.
Absolutely. Well, a mixture of things, to be honest, from voiceover and audiobooks to some screen and theatre. And how I got into it. Well, I suppose I always wanted to be an actor from being really small, because my parents actually worked on cruise ships. So I grew up on a boat. So I tell people that and they go, what? But it's true. Yeah, I grew up, my mum was on there. So I used to grow up being in dressing rooms with dancers and things and think, they're so cool. Like, I want to be like that when I'm older. So, it was a strange life on the sea. So back firmly on land now. But doing acting.
And, you mentioned there voiceovers, you do presentations as well. There's so many other things that you do. Again, it's very fortunate that you've come from a background of actors, but in terms of for a lot of young people perhaps who might be thinking, oh, do you know what, Emma was fortunate, she had a family who would support her, who came from an acting background, but I might not have that. What would you say to them? How could they perhaps get into acting?
Absolutely, that's such a great question. And I think if you'd have asked me that a few years ago, I would have said a really traditional route of, doing your hopefully amdrams and stuff when you're younger, and then trying to get into a really good drama school, which is still a fabulous, path. And then we've got amazing drama schools in this country. But I think especially the young generation at the moment, it's such an exciting time. I just think they're a lot cooler than me with things like TikTok. I'm desperate to learn TikTok, but I don't have it yet. I think maybe I'm a bit old for TikTok now, who knows? But, there's a lot of people on there that are doing comedy sketches or singer-songwriters. And I think the industry is really changing for young people now, that people are making music in their bedroom or writing a sketch with their friends and then getting picked up and being in a TV show or getting an album out. And I just think going for your dreams and, putting your creativity online and things is really boosting people's careers at the moment, which I think is so exciting for young people, actually. So there's a lot of routes that a few years ago I might not have said. So just go for it. Put it online.
Absolutely. And I think, what you said there, certainly TikTok, social media, just getting out there so that people can see who you are and you get noticed that way. So there is more platforms today than there was in the past. Now, a lot of people say, you have been dubbed as the young Victoria Wood. Tell us, would you, do you see yourself as Victoria Wood? Are you that, talk to us about where that came from.
I mean, that is probably the biggest compliment you could give me. She was completely my idol when I was younger. I'm a very, very proud Northerner. I live in London now, but I am a hugely proud Northerner. And she, when I was little, I think I used to watch her videos and think, oh my goodness, women can be really funny. And she's just talking about her life, and she's writing songs that are funny. And so that then got me into writing musical comedy songs. I have a comedy partner, writing partner, and we write with something called Hadfield and Swan online, and we do a lot of northern-based comedy songs. So we have one, for example, about being northern on the tube. Because me personally, I still can't get my head around when you go on the London tube and nobody talks to each other.
Yeah,
I want to have an ask with somebody, and then I find they're all silent. So I've got lots of music that me and my comedy partner have written about that. But I just think she was such an icon for funny women.
Yeah, she did the North proud, didn't she?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
And it seems to, there's a lot of comedians, a lot of female comedians that have come from the North. What makes it different? What makes it unique? Where does that sense of humor come from?
That's such a good question. I love that. I think as Northerners, I don't know if you agree with me, we have a bit of a brutal honesty sometimes that other people don't have. And it's not a nasty honesty, it's often caring. But, my grandma, for example, used to always tell me if she didn't think I was looking my best that day or my hair needed redoing, she'd tell me straight away. And, there's in the most loving way, it'd be, I think just a lot of comedy comes from, if you sit on a bus in the North, you hear some conversations that you think, that wouldn't happen anywhere else in the world. I just think we have a humorous honesty that I love. Do you agree? Do you think we are quite
absolutely? I mean, I am biased, but there you go. Yeah. You can't beat Northern comedy. A bit of Phoenix Nights and you name it. So, I mean, what would you tell me? What would you like? I know you're busy at the moment. We've got Horrible Histories coming up. Would you want to do a bit more of theatre, or would you want to do a bit more TV, or what's the plan? What are you thinking?
I mean, the plan is to see where everything takes me, to be honest, because this industry is so unpredictable. But I did my first feature film just before Christmas, a film called Sweet Sue that'll be out. And I was, just a short time on that, but it was so fun to be on a set thinking, oh, this is, I love theatre. I think theatre is where my heart is, but screen's very exciting. So if there's more screen opportunities in the future, that would be wonderful, really.
Yeah, and the long days, I suppose, filming, but it's all worth it at the end when it comes together nicely. And with theatre, talk to us about the preparation for that as well. What goes into it, remembering lines and, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's really, there's quite a bit, I suppose. Beforehand, I often try and learn my lines. That's a good thing, isn't it? Before the show, at least. But before the rehearsal process, I don't want to get too fixed with the script. I like to still have it, because if you learn it in a certain way and then get into the rehearsal room, you can feel a bit like you've learned to say it in a way. Do you know what I mean? And be flexible and things. Yeah. And then, with certain shows, I've got another show coming up in Scarborough about the Brontes, and that's cool. So I quite like to do research as well sometimes. So I'm playing Anne Bronte up there. And so, reading some of her books or listening to them and thinking it's quite nice with an acting role when you actually learn about someone you might not have known very much at all about. So, a bit of research. So, a bit of Netflix, watching documentaries, that kind of thing.
So is that method acting where you really go into character, you do everything as that person?
I mean, some people that really works for them, and I think it sounds so fascinating. Me personally, again, I think it's the Northern in me. If I started being Anne Bronte now, you'd want me off the show. You'd think, what on earth is she doing? I've never done method acting myself for a role, but I do know it works brilliantly for some actors. Maybe I should try it.
I love that. The director says cut and the person's still in still as well.
I do think that might be a bit strange, that having your dinner or a cup of tea and trying to still be the character. I don't think that's me really, but
I mean, again, when we think about these different methods of acting, of course, method acting, we just said there, can be a bit, too much on one side. What would you say, though, is this form of acting that perhaps best suits you? Is there a particular name for it, or I don't know, is there something that you call it, or I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think, in terms of you people listening to this and thinking, I want to do what she does. What can I do?
I mean, with training, as in I did say before about, just get your stuff out there and go for it. And I do passionately believe that with young people, because I think, they're so talented coming up and making these things. But I also do believe in drama school training as well, because, you get to really, I think we all go to, universities, don't we, to study something, and acting shouldn't necessarily be different. We deserve that bit of time to really focus on what we love. So I'd recommend training. I think, is it Meryl Streep that said, in a character, it might be completely rubbish what I'm saying that it's Meryl Streep, but I think it is. She said she looks for a little bit of herself in every character. And I like that as an idea, that if you get a part and think, how is this character similar to me a little bit? Which bits of myself can, how can I make this part uniquely mine? I quite like that idea of, instead of thinking you're becoming someone completely different, thinking, how are they similar to me? I think that's quite a good. So that's not my quote. I've stolen that. I've stolen that from somebody much more successful, but yeah.
No, absolutely. And do you know what? I'm always fascinated with actors, and just again, sorry to sound repetitive, but just that, you see them just literally switch and become this person. I'm just trying to imagine what goes through your mind and how you switch into that person and become that person. Is it just like a trigger that as soon as they say go, action, you're off?
Yeah. I mean, I think with screen, and again, I've only done, I'm very much still learning with screen. Hopefully I'll be coming back on here in a few years and talking about much. So I'm really learning. But I think that is, with theatre, you get that build up, you hear the music or the overture or something before it starts, and you can get yourself in the mode. With screen, it was, for me personally, more nerve wracking, because it is absolutely, you sit down or you stand and then you hear action and you're in it. So it's having, I think I've, always struggled a tiny bit with nerves when I was younger, and it's now trying to see the nerves as more excitement before you start, and not thinking I'm terrified, I'm going to forget everything, thinking, right, use this energy and go for it. Don't use it as excited energy rather than terror. That wouldn't be very inspiring for you listeners.
Absolutely. And you said there, the music gets you going. Is it the whole atmosphere, the event that's taking place? And again, as you said, rather than using it as terror, using it as an opportunity, as something to jump into.
Yeah.
Do you do any other preparations, for example, in your room before you get going? Have you got music playing? Do you go through some meditation? Do you do anything like that?
Absolutely, especially if I'm getting ready in the dressing room, especially if there's other people around. I'll always have a little bit of Beyonce on or something. I feel like a good positive bit of Beyonce before going on stage is good. And I think there's something lovely about the process of getting ready in your dressing room as well, because you have that, half an hour or whatever to get into character, get your makeup, hair, all that. Because with Horrible Histories, for example, the costumes are huge. It's one of my favorite parts of there's an Elizabeth I outfit that's absolutely enormous, and a massive wig and things, and you think, wow, this is what it's about. Like, it's so wonderful to be able to wear such massive, exciting, brilliantly designed. I mean, the costume designers on Horrible Histories are wonderful. They make these things, and I think I'm so privileged to be able to wear this. So I think with that kind of part, putting on that outfit actually helps with the character too. So.
Okay, fantastic. Are you allowed to reveal some of the characters that you're going to be?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for the Tudors, I'm playing a lot of, because it's a two-hander. So there's just two of us at the Garrick this summer for Terrible Tudors. So I'm playing the wives of Henry VIII, which is very fun because they're quite different. Henry Tudor himself, Elizabeth I, and Mary Queen of Scots. So they are lots of different accents and silliness. So do come on down if you're in London.
I love Horrible Histories.
I'm glad you're a fan.
I'm a huge fan of it. So again, we've been talking about young people, helping them getting into this. What would you say again, just as a bit of a motivation, I suppose, and a bit of for them to not to give up hope, I suppose? What would you say?
Yeah, I think trying lots of different things when you're young and going for it and believing in yourself. I think, especially because I've repeated a lot of times, I'm a proud Northerner, I haven't, but I think I'm in good company with that. But I think sometimes when you are going into this industry, it can feel like you're put in a certain box if you're from the north, if that makes sense, you know, the kinds of roles. And when I was little, I mean, I would never have thought I could do anything like Shakespeare, for example, with my accent. I thought Shakespeare was for people that sounded very posh and sounded like they had lots of money and had an RP or a London accent, you know. And so in my career, I've worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company, for example, in Stratford. I was there, and they absolutely loved that I had a strong regional accent. And my colleagues on that also had strong accents from all different parts of the world. And I just think it's that, don't, like you said, don't give up hope, and also stay true to who you are. Don't think that, you know, if we sound as Northerners this certain way, that's a wonderful thing. That's, you know, we're so unique to that. Our accents are brilliant. And with things like Shakespeare, I think it sometimes can sound, you know, I'm biased, but I think sometimes a good line of Shakespeare in Northern sounds amazing. And when I see young people, or if I do workshops with young people, and sometimes I hear that for their Shakespeare monologue, they'll go into a posh accent, and I go, I'm going to stop you there. Do that in your own accent, be you. And then, you know, people on audition panels will see their, you know, their talent and themselves shine through, rather than thinking they have to be someone else.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what you were saying about Meryl Streep. With each character that she goes into, there has to be an element of herself.
Yeah,
so,
you found that link there. I didn't. you put those things together. I definitely didn't. But yeah, that's true. So yeah.
So tell me, what is it that you enjoy the most about what you do?
I think what I enjoy the most is how varied my days are. I feel so privileged to have such you know, different things throughout the year. And even in the midst of lockdown, for example, when all the theatres shut and there was no TV or film, it was so scary. And then I built a recording studio in my cupboard at home and was doing audiobooks and dramas, and I did Doctor Who from a cupboard. And I just think it's such a cool job that, you know, one day you can be in a different part of the country and another day in your cupboard, but still telling stories. So the variation, I think.
Oh, brilliant. And, you know, finally, how can our audience connect with you? Where can they find out more so that they can go and watch Horrible Histories?
Absolutely. Yeah. So well, you can find me on my social medias. So on Instagram and Twitter, I'm Emma Little Swan, and Swan like the animal. So Emma Little Swan. So please do follow me on there. And then please also come down to the Garrick this summer and come say hello after if you do. We're on from the 28th of July to the 3rd of September. And it's the premiere, like you said, of Terrible Tudors in the West End. And yeah, say hello on social media, anything like that. That would be wonderful. And yeah. Say hi.
Emma, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Just hearing, you know, your stories and just encouraging to give hope to the young people as well listening, and to anyone listening, you know, be yourself, and just you know, whatever you're going to do, you know, be who you are, because that is what people want, the authentic you, the real you.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's bode well for you. So thank you for coming and sharing that with us and being a huge inspiration. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been so lovely.
If you want some amazing inspiration, check out the videos next to me, and I'll see you right there.